And we're back for more. This is the Marlins Hot Stove Show. It is the week of Thanksgiving, episode number 3. This is premiering on Wednesday. If you're watching tomorrow, we're doing this on Tuesday, but this is premiering on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. If you are sick and tired of your family around the Thanksgiving table and you are somewhere in your home huddled up into a corner because you're tired of your aunt and uncle and grandma and grandpa asking you questions watching this, well, we certainly thank you that as well. So, Stephen, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
What's going on? I think we talked about this is probably our favorite holiday. I know this is your favorite holiday. This is
Mhm.
up there for me. If it's not number one, it's number two. I'm back in Jersey actually right now. Super excited to be on with you as we continue to learn new faces, learn new names, learn what's going on in the organization. We have another special guest that I'm super excited to chat with. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement right now, and it's November 26th that we're recording, but of
Yeah.
course it's coming out tomorrow. And I got to be honest with you, I'm starting to get a little bit of the itch for Jupiter in spring training.
Well, be careful what you wish for. I think we did like 190 games in 210 days last year. So just be careful what you wish for. We'll be back up there in Jupiter soon. Okay, glad you got to New Jersey safe and sound. And yes, I am pumped to chat with the new Miami Marlins director of hitting, Joe Migliaccio. He is very similar to me and Bill Hiesel in that when we were chatting with Bill last week, Stephen, I felt like we could chat with him for hours because there
Yep.
was so much genuine curiosity as to what on earth all of these new positions are and what they entail. I'm really just super pumped to talk to all these folks. So we'll do that here in a second. But any
Yeah.
thoughts there?
No, I think that they're different sort of people because I think sometimes within this business, some people like to keep secrets. Some people
Mhm.
like to, I don't want to share this because I think I know more. And I think that that's not how you do things. I don't think that's the right way to go about things. And I think with Bill, he was very open to saying like, yeah, like what I learned was from someone else, and what I'm going to learn in the future is from someone else, and basically kind of sharing this knowledge and wealth and wisdom. And I feel like we're going to get a similar case here with Joe. But all in all, man, I'm excited to really get into the nuts and bolts of hitting and really just the values that he's going to bring into the organization. Because as you know, not every team has a director of hitting and a
Yeah.
director of pitching. The Marlins are going all in on this. I completely agree with it. This is where it starts. And let's be honest, it's a big time job. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not only just talking to the major league players. This is the entire organization: single A, double A, triple A, Dominican League. I mean, these are the values. So it's a very important and vital position.
Okay, Joe will be into the courtroom here momentarily where we will begin to interrogate him with questions. But first and foremost, make sure you set your calendar to Saturday, February 8th. It'll be Fan Fest at Lone Depot Park. Again, 4 to 8 p.m. We are back on Saturday this year. Last year, we did it on Friday. This year, it'll be on Saturday. It is a ton of fun to be out there. We're actually going to watch shortly. You'll understand where I'm going with this. Augustine Ramirez, the organization, put out an incredible kind of prospect spotlight video
Yes.
on him today. We're going to watch that shortly. And I say that because FanFest is going to have so many awesome young prospects. It's an opportunity in a relaxed environment to just, come out and hang out with them and get some autographs and do all of that stuff. So it's going to be a blast. Well, let's welcome on to the Marlins Hot Stove Show, new Miami Marlins director of hitting, Joe Migliaccio. Joe, this is not a courtroom. There is no interrogation. We would simply like to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. And before we ask so many questions that at some point you're going to tap out and say, guys, you've taken too much of my time, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish when it's on the table?
Kyle, Steven, thank you for having me. Go to mashed potatoes, gravy, corn. No matter where I'm at, wife's parents' house, my parents' house, grandparents' house, it's mashed potatoes, corn, and gravy.
I like this guy already.
Is the turkey overrated? There's always a lot of talk about turkey being overrated, Joe.
Just depends how it's cooked, right? You've got the fried turkeys, you've got the baked turkeys. Definitely not my go-to. I'm a ham over turkey guy on Thanksgiving. Also a big dessert guy at the same time.
Stephen, before we really dive in, and I'll let you take it away after this, Joe, I guess let's start, and I'll do something similar to when we were chatting with Bill, who you'll obviously be working with closely now in the organization. You know, who are you? Where are you from? And Can you talk us and take us a little bit through your path to get to where you are now at the ripe age of, pardon me, is it 33 years old, Joe?
33.
God bless you, brother. How just so I mean, lay it out there for us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into where you are now.
Yeah, no doubt. Graduated from Oral Roberts University out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Realized I wanted to get into coaching. Probably wasn't good enough to play professionally. So did everything I could to get into the coaching circle, if you will. First job in college was at Siena College, right outside Albany, New York. And honestly, it was probably the best case scenario for a first year coach with learning how to actually coach, how to step away from playing to get into the coaching lens. And the head coach at the time was Tony Rossi. I believe he was the longest tenured Division I head coach in the country. I think he got up to 52, 53, give or take a year or two there, years. And so he was great because he kind of just threw me into the fire. We were able to have those conversations on a daily, weekly, monthly basis of what went well, what didn't go well, how could it have gone better. And so that was a great start to my career. Really helped propel me and see things from a different light. From there, made some other stops throughout college. Ultimately, making the transition to professional baseball in 2019. I was at the University of Iowa, and I was hired by the Yankees to be an affiliate hitting coach. Spent 6 years with New York, 3 as an affiliate hitting coach, and the last 3 as the hitting coordinator. And then, as you all know, here recently just signed on to be the director of hitting with the Marlins.
And we'll bounce around, I'm sure, Joe, and it's great to meet you, and we're so happy you joined us. But let me, I guess, as we get into the Marlins now, why was this the right decision, and just your excitement level for the opportunity?
First and foremost, I had an incredible job with New York, a phenomenal job. There were fantastic people. We had an awesome hitting department specifically. It's the job that you get up and you're excited to go to work every single day. It really doesn't feel like a job, if you will. And so walking away from New York wasn't the easiest thing. However, when I did my in-person interview in Miami, gauntlet of an interview process, which I certainly appreciated because it felt like they were doing it right. Every person I continued to talk with just seemed like such a great person, an incredible person, very genuine. We believe in a lot of the same things. And when I walked away from that process, my immediate thought was, I want to work with these people. Obviously, there's a change in life when you make a job change. It affects my family. It affects where we live. It affects responsibility across the board. But knowing that the team that they have in place from a front office standpoint, I wanted to go to battle with the team that they had put in place. So by far the most impactful decision, the most impactful reasoning for the decision to join Miami was the people they have in place. What Peter and Gabe and Rachel have done in such a short time, and the rest of the team, not to leave anybody out. It makes you really excited to wake up every day and go to work and try to develop something really cool.
Joe, there are 30 teams and 100 plus minor league teams and thousands of people that work in the game, but it's a very small knit community, obviously. I do know you had a very direct, close relationship with Rachel, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody else throughout the course of this process that you were very familiar with inside of the organization?
Yeah, besides Rachel, really didn't have any close ties to the Marlins here recently. Obviously met Rachel a few years ago, and she was a member of the Yankees hitting department. And our bond has grown incredibly well over the years. Someone I look to for feedback, for advice, opinions, just across the board. And I know when I have conversations with her, she's gonna give me her true thoughts, which I appreciate. So kind of having her in my corner throughout this transition, getting into Miami now has been monumental with making it a seamless transition.
Who would you say is one of your biggest baseball influences?
Yeah, great question. For me personally, on the hitting side, the mentor of mine has been Dylan Lawson. Long story short here, when I was playing junior college baseball, before I transferred to Oral Roberts, Dylan Lawson was actually I don't know his official title, but he was the hitting coach or recruiting coordinator at Morehead State University at the time. And he actually recruited me, and I ended up going to Oral Roberts. But anyway, we reconnected a few years later where he was on staff at Southeast Missouri State University. I joined the staff of Southeast Missouri State University. A few weeks later, he took a job with the Astros. The head coach at Southeast Missouri took a job at Mizzou. I made a move there with him. Dylan also came on board. I made another move after that, just continuing to try to climb the coaching ladder. And long story short, Dylan earned the job of hitting coordinator from the Yankees back in, I think, late 2018, and gave me a call, and we had a few conversations, and the rest is history. So he's a monumental figure in my life, not just in hitting, but in life in general.
Joe, it's very hard to ignore your age for obvious reasons, but do you almost feel like an old soul and a weathered baseball man because of all your stops? I mean, there was a stretch of 4 or 5 years in a row where you were at a different university and, found your footing in the Yankees organization. But do you feel relatively young in the game, or because of all your stops and all these people you've met, does it make you feel maybe like older and ready to take on all these roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think what I'm incredibly grateful for along this ride has been the people I've been able to meet. I've been able to get so many different perspectives and beliefs on development or strength and conditioning, skill acquisition, just all these different topics across the board. I've been able to be around some really incredible people, whether it's my time in college or my time with the Yankees and now my time with the Marlins. Definitely don't have the answer to every question out there, but I think when you surround yourself with people that you can walk 50 feet down the hallway and talk to our director of performance science, and hopefully he has an answer or can help guide you in a certain direction. So old soul, not sure I would go there. However, like constantly just trying to test and retest our philosophies and theories and just continue to get better across the board.
I don't want to throw you on the spot, and if I am, I'll pinball to another question, but I'm just interested because a big trade that the Marlins made was Jazz for 3 prospects, and I want to talk about 2 of them, and I want to see if you did work with them, Augustine Ramirez and Jared Cerna.
Yeah, great question. Number one, A-plus people. Augustine and Cerna, just phenomenal young men. To answer the question, but probably not answer the question at the same time, like as a coordinator with the Yankees or a director with the Marlins, my job is not to get on the ground, grab a player on my hands and coach them. My job is to set a philosophy, develop coaches, help our coaches get to their goals, help our coaches improve their strategy. So while I made trips to all those affiliates and obviously was around Cerna and Augustine specifically quite often, the coaches that we had at those levels did a phenomenal job with those guys. And over the last however many years to see their progressions up through the organization. And now both of them, Augustine, the 40 man, and also Cerna, to see that big check, box check, if you will, happen for them is really exciting. But they both acknowledge that there's still plenty of work to do.
Kyle, if you don't mind, I want to stick on the Yankees really quickly.
That's fine. Yeah.
One of the things that I felt was different about New York when we watched and we went to Yankee Stadium this year, I think they came to us 2 years ago, but particularly this year, the swing decisions. They did not chase. They were disciplined. They led the league in walks. How much of an emphasis is swing decisions or just the encouragement of taking walks and swinging at good strikes?
We're not up there looking to walk. I think that's a common misconception about plate discipline or strikes on awareness. We simply try not to give a pitcher a strike that he did not earn. And in terms of what our philosophy is or what our pillars are and what we believe in, plate discipline is by far the number one. And it's by far number one because there is overlap in many other areas with batted ball performance. And so I'm not saying that it's the only thing. There are certainly other major components of how a hitter is performing.
Sure, it helps to have Soto up there.
It always helps. I think when you're able to dominate the strike zone, you ultimately get the miss, and you're just ready for the miss because you're able to put a great plan in place. You're able to take that plan into the box, but also you're able to execute that plan. And so, definitely a little misconception in terms of like just trying to walk to get on base. We're trying to do damage. We're trying to hit the ball hard. We're trying to swing at strikes. And ideally we hit it over the infielder's head. But at the end of the day, if you just hit that pitch and you've been able to develop a swing that plays on multiple pitch types and multiple locations of the zone, hopefully that gives you a really good opportunity to have success. And look, at the end of the day, I just want to score more runs than the other team.
Right.
If we score more runs than the other team, whether it's a 2-run shot in the 9th or It's 4 singles, as rare as that might be. I just want to score more runs. And hopefully we do that a lot more and we win a lot more baseball games.
I would love, Stephen, to dive back into all of this in a moment and really ask you, Joe, too, like, you're the director of hitting. What on earth is that? Because we got to a very similar place with Bill last week. But and I want to go back to that conversation because I want to ask you a very similar question, learning about his background. Went D1, dropped back to D2, had amazing coaches, but always felt like a void, like A plus B is not equaling C, like the art of this, and he wanted more. Were you in a similar spot when we talk about hitting, that you had amazing coaches and you played college ball, but like, why have you gravitated to hitting a baseball? Like, where did this all kind of like, where have you wanted to get fulfilled by all of this?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can pinpoint one time or location. I think over the course of a couple different stops in college, as I alluded to earlier, you get some different opinions and you hear the passion that people have. And early on in my career, the first couple years, I was definitely more defensive oriented from a responsibility standpoint. And then as I made the transition a few years later, you just at least my transition was to go more from the defensive side to the hitting side. But back to I spent 1 year at Florida International University with a legendary head coach there, Turtle Thomas, and to think about how he would talk about hitting. And then when I get to Siena College, a legendary head coach there, and Tony Rossi, and his thoughts on hitting and thoughts across the board in general. And then you make all these different stops and you get to hear different opinions and what worked better and what didn't work better. I think the general consensus for me was as cliche as it is, to take like these bits and pieces from all these very impactful people in my life, and hopefully that kind of pushes you in a direction of your beliefs, and at the end of the day try to prove what we believe in. I'm definitely on the objective side versus subjective. And look, that doesn't stop here. We'll continue to test and retest. There will probably be things we learn 6 months from now that we could have done better a year ago, and then we'll make the adjustment accordingly and just try to continue winning the margins and try to just be ahead as much as we can.
And I think you're starting to answer this, but I'll just flat out ask you. You are the Miami Marlins director of hitting. If I looked at your LinkedIn bio and there's 3 sentences on what you do here, like, what are your jobs and responsibilities now with the Miami Marlins in this role?
Yeah. To put simply, just responsible for overseeing the hitting department. We're gonna put a philosophy in place. We're gonna put beliefs in place. We're gonna put essentially a system in place. And there's also this thought, when you put a system in place, it means that every player has to mold to this one specific way that you want to coach. And it's certainly the farthest thing from the truth. Obviously, there's a major individual component to all this. Certain players, they'll have to really work on plate discipline if they want to get to where they want to get to in their career. Certain players are probably going to have to fine tune some mechanical flaws to hopefully improve bat path, if you will. And we will absolutely get into the weeds on an individual basis. But at the end of the day, we're all shooting towards the same North Star, and we want to develop big leaguers across the board and impactful big leaguers at the very least.
If you had a Mount Rushmore of plate discipline, if you could think of 4 players just off the top of your head that you've worked with, who would be up there? And if you can't give, what is it that separates them from the rest? What is it about plate discipline? What do you have to have?
Yeah. Look, probably tops on there of Mount Rushmore are probably Soto, Judge. Those guys have incredible plate discipline. I think when people think plate discipline, there's this maybe generic thought, if you will, of like, man, like, can't believe a guy swung at the slider that bounced in the dirt, or how did he swing at that fastball up? But there are so many more levels to actually recognizing pitches and having different gaze strategies and how you track pitches and how far you track pitches.
Sure.
And then there's also a swing component to that as well. And so there are plenty of different factors that come into play here. And you're really just trying to allow the game to kind of tell you what a player does, right? With all due respect to all the hitting coaches out there, it's like the opinions don't really matter all that much. The game is going to tell us if the swing is playing or not. It's like how Soto swings is a little bit different than how Judge swings, and how Judge swings is a little bit different than how Jake Berger swings. So it's like finding these strengths within their individual capabilities is a really important piece. And we've got to be able to couple all of those things together to hopefully just build a complete player.
I'm not even sure where to go to that. I'm so fascinated by some of
I
this,
know,
Joe.
me too, man. I
I,
could go
I,
deeper.
let me ask you this, though, is like as the director of hitting, and obviously there's like so much infrastructure involved in a lot of what's going on here. Because Stephen was just asking about, plate discipline and stuff. When you start to implement processes and processes with the Miami Marlins, like when you think about hitting, whether you're a righty or a lefty, a power hitter, you bunt the ball, you're a switch hitter, are there certain like tenets to hitting? We were all told like see the ball, hit the ball when we were younger. Are there certain philosophies that this organization, whether you're 17 in the Dominican or making 20 million in the big leagues as a 30-year-old, that will be consistent across the board? As silly as is that dumb? As silly as that sounds, type of deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's certainly different ways to go about it. And the way that, as corny as this might be, I guess I'll turn this around on you guys real quick. Give me like a chain you like to eat out at.
Chick-fil-A.
I was just Chipotle.
All right, cool. We'll go with Chick-fil-A. So if you have Chick-fil-A in Miami versus if you have Chick-fil-A in Jupiter, what do you expect?
It's going to taste the same. It's the same
Yeah,
every time I go.
right.
I know what I'm getting. I'm looking for consistency, baby. Don't overdo it. Don't
Yeah.
underdo it.
No doubt. And I couldn't agree more. And with that being said, if we want to speed up development, if we want to enhance player value faster, if we want to promote guys to new levels and have less regression, number one, the system has to be in place. We have to believe in what we believe in and why, and we've got to push that message at all times. If you're problem solving, you're problem solving towards the message that we're trying to push. And so, with that being said, is Chick-fil-A in Santo Domingo, or where our complex is in the DR and Miami, is it exactly the same? Probably not a true overlap. However, it is Chick-fil-A, but the menus are probably different. And I know this can kind of come off a little bit corny, but
No, this is making more sense. Seriously, this makes more sense to
Yeah, it
me.
does.
yeah, so like our players at lower levels were maybe another way to kind of add on top to the Chick-fil-A theory, if you will, is we believe in development across the board, whether it's an A-ball player, a AAA player, a big league player. We're trying to get players to maintain their strengths and just improve those areas of lesser strengths accordingly. The players at the lower levels have a lot more room to gain here. So like we're hammering home skill acquisition at those lower levels. As players make that transition to double A, triple A, and especially the big leagues, there's still some skill acquisition happening, but we're making a true flip to skill application. We need those guys to take those skills and start applying them into the game. And at the end of the day, in Miami, like we hope our process in place for each and every hitter is a really good one, so we can go out and score as many runs as possible and win the game. If our process is not transferring to the game, we need to check into our process and make sure we're making the appropriate adjustments. But in terms of like scaling player development and speeding up player development, number one, we have to have a great system built. We have to have our beliefs across the board. But that doesn't mean that every single player is doing the exact same drill at every level. It does not mean that. It means that we all have a North Star in what we're trying to achieve. Every player has specific objectives that they're working on. And we're working with the players on putting together those action plans or drill packages, working with strength and conditioning and the ATs to ultimately get each and every player to get as most value out of themselves that they can.
Mercy. Can I sneak back in real quick, Steven?
Yeah, I was gonna ask him what his favorite chain was, but it's okay. You
No,
probably
go
have a
ahead.
better
We'll start
question.
there.
No,
That's
it's okay.
important.
It's okay.
Hey, go ahead, Joe. I know you're thinking about it. What's your favorite chain? I saw that.
All
I
right.
saw that. I saw the wheels spinning. I don't want to move on here.
I'm gonna go with Raising Cane's.
Oh, it's good.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good.
Wow, that's a good one. They're delicious. Those
really good
chicken
one.
tenders rival anything in the business.
Yeah. Unfortunately, here right in town where I live, there's a brand new one getting built, and we're going to leave town, which is slightly unfortunate, but we'll make do.
I think I wonder if they go peanut oil and if we're low on the saturated fats. I don't know. That's stuff that's important to me. You mentioned building processes. We are obviously in the year of 2025. You're younger. You are going to take all of this stuff, but quite literal when we're talking about infrastructure and your new role. What are you doing right now? Or like, are you literally looking at the infrastructure that's in place, literal, computers and all of these systems to help these guys? Like, where are we at? Maybe even as I ask that question organizationally right now.
Yeah. I think the easiest way for me to answer this is simply to say, like, we're building the foundation right now. And when I say we're building the foundation, we're not spending 15% of our time diving into area B, 15% of our time diving into area C. The most important thing happening right now is we are in a hiring process for getting the right people on the bus. So I believe when I took over here, maybe 6 weeks ago, I think we had 7 open hitting positions, and so we needed to be able to fill those positions with the right people. We're getting close to finalizing those, and once we get the right people on the bus, obviously we'll start onboarding them and go from there. So by far, the most important thing right now is, can we get the right people on the bus? Can we get people that are going to help push us forward? Can we get people that are open minded? And from there, we'll keep pushing forward.
I feel like I've asked this question to everyone that has joined this show, Joe, but I'm going to have to ask you as well, just with Peter Bendix and your interview process. And I use this example too. Like Gabe Kapler was not supposed to be in baseball. He had a conversation with Peter. He had his RV set to drive it to Argentina. He said, no, this guy's a little bit different. I like what he's doing here. Takes a lot to leave the New York Yankees. You just told us it was really hard. You were in a good situation, a really good situation. What was it about Peter's message that you really resonated with and you really believe in, and kind of take us through that?
Number one, the people that he brought on his team, first and foremost, to be able to interact with the type of person that he values, that means a lot. And when I was able to sit down with Peter and able to hear the things that he believes in, and you think about his history and the success they've had with the Rays, doing way more with less relative to maybe some other teams across baseball, and where you think the Marlins have been. Peter was phenomenal in my process when we had our one-on-one, when we talked about what the Marlins have invested in the past, or maybe lack thereof a little bit, and what they plan on investing in going forward, and how we're going to collaborate across the board with having great systems in place, but having that interdepartmental collaboration at the same time with acquiring the right player, making sure the players we're acquiring, there are areas for us to continue developing in. And I think when you have that vision across the board, you end up acquiring the right player. You can develop them a little bit more, and hopefully then you have an impactful major leaguer on your hands. And so, yeah, meeting with Peter was incredible. He's such a phenomenal person. So excited to spend more time with him, and obviously really excited to see what we're going to be able to do together.
With that being said, I know we asked Bill this as well because the director of a position is rather all encompassing. You cannot be in 10 different places at one time. And obviously, Pedro Guerrero is going to be responsible for the hitting on the major league side. But how often, Joe, will we see you at Lone Depot Park in the regular season or on the road? What does your schedule now look like with this whole thing?
Yeah. So we have from the Dominican Republic up to the big leagues, we have 7 different stops. How that's being handled will be probably more on like a week by week, bi-weekly basis, just in terms of where I need to get to, why I need to get there. Maybe some levels need me to be around a little bit more than others. I think what's important is if you just mathematically think about one person and 7 stops, if you go to each affiliate for a week, it's going to take 7 weeks, 8 weeks to get back to that original one, which is not okay. You can't be somewhere once every 2 months. And so being able to navigate that accordingly, getting to where I need to get to, spending the time that I need to spend there. What's also interesting, it's not as if, for a hypothetical, when I'm with the Jupiter Hammerheads, it doesn't mean that I'm not talking to our other coaches during that whole week. There are weekly meetings that are happening. I use meetings loosely, weekly phone calls, weekly video calls, short as 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, player breakdowns, being a resource for them, hearing how things are going. And so, again, like on the director front, this is not about me walking into the cage and getting with a prospect and saying, yeah, I went into that town and I fixed that guy. That's not the model. That's not how this works. If I can help impact 8 coaches, those coaches can now impact 15 players. Now we're doing this thing right.
Joe, I wanted to ask you this as well, because I think there's almost this perception around either baseball or maybe even the fan base that hiring all of these individuals that are, and I don't even know if you're analytically driven or whatever it may be, but I think there's almost this consensus that these guys don't believe in moving the runner over or bunting a guy over or whatever it may be. Can you sort of talk about that's still a value at any level, that we value the sack fly, we value running, just putting the ball in play and moving guys over.
I think I've touched on this a couple times, and I hope you guys and the viewers don't get tired of hearing this because it's such a impactful um, impactful conversation in terms of winning or losing. I don't care about how we score the runs. Like I care about scoring as many runs as we can. And there are obviously maybe more efficient ways to do that than others. But at the same time, like whether it's a 2-run pump, whether it's a sack fly, whether it's a first and third safety squeeze, like look, at the end of the day, I want our players to be able to adjust accordingly when they're in the box based on the pitcher that is throwing against them, based on the situation. And at the end of the day, like I want them to be in a spot where they can have success as a hitter, and then we can score a ton of runs. And if we are scoring a ton of runs, I bet you we are having fantastic individual performance. And when you put those two things together, you probably get some really cool vibes across the board. So maybe in short, to answer your question, yeah, it all matters. All of it matters.
I think we see that too. And Steven, I think it's an interesting question because it feels like Major League Baseball's gone down, and this might just be me as a fan. I feel like so many teams utilize the long ball during the regular season to win a
Right.
ton of games. And I think that's natural with launch angle and exit velo in today's day and age. But when you get to the playoffs these days, it's the teams that can execute and do the little things right and move a runner over and get them in. It seems like the ones that are winning. But Joe, and as I mentioned, as fans, many of us, especially baseball fans, and there's the real hardcore nuts that look at what everything's going on in the minor leagues. But obviously, a lot of us, we care about the big leagues. Are they winning or losing? And that's the only barometer. Obviously, it's not. But as fans, short for fanatics, we get it. Pedro Guerrero, what is he going to bring to the Miami Marlins, if without putting words in his mouth?
Yeah. A+ person. When you see him walk in the door, you will smile. And I think when you have that type of personality in your locker room in the cages, you want players that want to come to the cage. They want to come to the cage because there are great vibes. There's phenomenal music going on, whether it's Bad Money or there's Christian rock. That coach knows what every single player needs from beginning to end. And so, what I think our players are going to be most excited about Pedro is he's an A+ person. His care level is off the charts. He has a brilliant mind in terms of being able to problem solve. He's a great connector. He's going to be monumental for us and to be able to get to where we want to get to and beyond. And so I think ultimately the fans are probably going to be happy when we win. And for us to win, we need to score more runs. And I think Pedro's going to be in a place to help our hitters produce across the board to ultimately do that. So I'm excited for everyone to be able to spend some time with Pedro, players, staff, maybe you guys. I can talk to Pedro, see if we can make that happen. But A+ guy.
Now, you went to FIU, Joe. Does it feel a little like full circle now, coming back like 20 minutes east now and working for the Marlins? Just what are some of your emotions?
Yeah, man, I don't know that I would say it's full circle. It's just a small stop in my journey. I was just there for 1 year before transferring to a junior college. I will say I'd be lying if I didn't have a little bit of interest in driving back to campus and just seeing what things look like in a 15-year difference. But like shaped me for that
Of
next
course.
year going forward in my life, and forever grateful for the time there and the people that invested in me.
Do you like where baseball's at right now?
In terms of
Just the game in general, just with everything. I don't even know if there's a specific thing the rule changes, everything. Do you like where the game's at? Is it in a good place?
yeah, certainly a loaded question. So I think it's like when you think of like defensive shifts years ago, teams found this strategic advantage, and maybe it was too much of an advantage. So baseball said, "Oh, you can't have that one anymore." And so I think teams are always, certain teams are looking to find those advantages, strategic advantages that are going to help them win ball games. And so I can't speak for 29 other teams at this point. I'm still learning about Miami at the same time. So maybe I can't speak for anybody. But I think in terms of where we're at and where we're going, it's certainly an exciting time. And I hope there's just excitement across the board with what we're doing from top to bottom.
I have a serious question, but first, Joe, is the Amazon guy at your door? Is that the Ring doorbell that's going off? I want to make sure around the holiday season that the packages. There it is again.
Yeah.
Somebody at the door, Joe? What's happening?
Oh man, I'm in a lot of Slack channels right now.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure it's the holiday
I
season. Not
thought the
sure if we're
same
trying to get a
thing.
package delivered.
Amazon came earlier. Our front porch was packed, so hopefully there's
Okay,
no more
that's
today.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Hey, back to your role now, and I know you've talked about. To me, it's kind of like you're at the dentist, and the dentist finally comes in and looks at you and says, "Okay, you're good to go." I feel like that's you, and like all the folks underneath you are doing the work. But when you're doing this during the season, how much video are you watching of players? But is it more meetings on the computer and like poring over video of guys, or is it looking at numbers and stuff and crunching numbers? Like, how do you divvy up your time if that's a thing?
Yeah, probably D, all the above, right? I think we're constantly looking to press the department forward. Obviously, we're looking to establish a system, and then we'll be looking to press onward from there. In terms of like what maybe a day in a life would look like during the season, I think you're, and my wife loves this. I say that jokingly, but for some reason, I'm not traveling on a day. There's the big league game on the big TV, the AAA game on the computer, the AA game on the other monitor. It's just
Oh my God.
you're just staying in touch on what's happening with the system. You're hoping good things are happening from a performance standpoint, but at the same time, you're just trying to stay on top of that process piece, making sure that the process coaches have in place for each player are having that transition of the game. Whether you're looking at certain trends, looking at if certain players are hitting certain trip wires for better or for worse, and really just trying to be a helping hand for the coach throughout the season. Can I help you in any way? Can I support you in any way? Can we develop a new report? Can we adjust the report? Constantly trying to problem solve for maybe things our coaches are bringing up, and if I can help make their job easier, I feel like that's a big win. So it's certainly across the board. Of course, I'm looking at videos of players trying to take some workload off coaches at the same time and try to pick their brain on things. But yeah, it's there it is.
Is that Peter saying you have like 3 more minutes with those goofballs?
Yeah, literally. Get off the
That's
phone with
him.
these
You've
clowns.
got 3 more minutes with those dopes before you better hang the thing up. We got to get back to work.
Man, I'm probably going to go out on a limb and say there's a few more coming, but we'll work through it.
Steven, I really only have one more. If you
I
have
have
a
no
couple more
more. I
questions.
have a couple of non-baseballs.
Fabulous.
So go finish up on the baseball side.
No, I was actually simply going to ask there. This is a sport where there's no work-life balance. And you mentioned your family, man. Like, how important are they to you, and how much does their support mean to you? Because obviously, if you don't have that, I mean, this job is impossible to do, Joe.
Yeah, it's everything. My wife is beyond impactful for our family. To have her support, throughout the moves in college, and we joked around back when I was with the Yankees. I think it was year 2 or year 3, and I remember this moment. We were sitting on the couch and we just kind of joked around about. Feels like we've been here for almost 10 years at this point, and we were 2 or 3 years in. And but the support that she brings is obviously really important. She knows what the job means to me personally. She knows what the job means for our family, and having that support piece is incredibly important. So I know she might be. Maybe you guys can see her in that door behind me, just kind of staring. She's actually not there, but. So just the support across the board is phenomenal, and she's the best mother in the world to our son, and definitely couldn't do it without her.
That makes me so happy.
Me too.
Did Kyle nail your last name? Did he get it correctly? Did he do pretty well? Say it again, Kyle. His last name. I'm throwing you
Joe
on the spot.
Migliaccio.
Perfect.
Now, what's the percentage?
I watched multiple videos. If somebody else got it wrong, I probably should have asked beforehand, but I was like, I'm pretty confident that the interviews he's done, they've got this right.
What's the percentage that people actually get it right?
It's well below 50%. If you've heard any other podcasts or interviews, there's probably a good likelihood that there was some sort of mispronunciation there.
Now, you are Italian, correct?
Correct.
Give me your Mount Rushmore of Italian dishes.
Chicken Parmesan, by far number 1.
Now, with do you like the vodka sauce, or do you just do red sauce, or is it
No.
disrespectful to do the vodka sauce?
No vodka sauce.
Or do you prefer to go to Wawa with Bill and get your chicken parm sub from there? I'm still not over that. Going to the gas station to get a chicken parm sub.
Look, me and Bill and I will have a conversation about that. I certainly respect his decision to enjoy that meal. I hope we can go to a more authentic Italian restaurant in Miami and maybe expand on that.
Wait, Steven, can I step in for 1 second? I'm so
Absolutely.
sorry. There was one more baseball thing I meant to ask when I was thinking about this in our conversation with Bill Joe. How often, as the director of hitting and pitching, I feel like it's like college football on a bye week, you self scout. How often do you guys cross check like each other's work? Because his goal is to get your guys out, and your goal is to make sure that his guys are unsuccessful. Obviously, not in the same organization. But is there any overlay there, or is that just a wild thing of me to think?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you look at both sides, and on the hitting side, we're trying to when we face Bill's department, the pitching department during inter squads or spring training, we're trying to do a lot of damage. Conversely, Bill is probably trying to strike all of our guys out, and I think there's certainly the opportunity there for Bill and I to have some incredible conversations about why did you attack that hitter the way you did? What did you see specifically? What was the game plan going into that? Were you just going with pitcher strengths? Were you going against hitter weaknesses? And so I am certainly incredibly excited to talk with Bill throughout those processes and just continue to pick his mind because he's such a bright person that's done some really incredible things in this game. So I hope to be able to just continue expanding my knowledge and skill set as well with having conversations with him.
Got to finish the 3 on the Mount Rushmore of Italian foods.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken parm.
Chicken Alfredo.
Yes, good.
I don't get much farther than that. I potentially
You're simple,
have
man.
I
You don't
potentially-
change. You don't fix something that's not broken.
We'll finish the Mount Rushmore with like a hot take.
Okay.
I've got lasagna being the most overrated dish.
Really?
Yeah.
I like lasagna. Okay. You know what?
It's not,
It's
it's
okay.
certainly not personal. Yeah.
It's okay. All right. And then do we have any other hot takes? You going to tell me you don't like penny and vodka?
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay.
No more hot takes.
That's good.
Last one, Joe. I was just gonna ask you what sports you like in the offseason. You big football guy. It's feast week. It's Thanksgiving, man. It's feast week. Some unbelievable college basketball going on if you're into it.
Yeah, I'm huge into college football, huge into college basketball. Super pumped for the 12-team playoff in college football this year. March Madness, I love. Definitely really big into those two.
Broadcast wise, did you grow up on any broadcasters that you liked? I don't know what your team was growing up baseball wise, but any podcasters, any sports shows that you watch that you like broadcast wise?
Yeah, honestly, not really. Born in New Jersey, most of my family was there. Grew up a Yankee fan, and that's why joining the Yankees was such a huge moment in my life. And again, to walk away was an incredibly difficult decision. But yeah, growing up, like for us,
Mike and the Mad Dog.
It was just about sports. Like we were just getting outside. We were playing. My sister, my parents. We were just traveling all the time, playing different sports. So didn't do a ton of like the television stuff, but just played a ton of sports across the board. And looking back on it, I wish it would have made me a little bit more athletic. So maybe that's genetically that hurt me, but definitely grateful for my parents and on that side.
Well, Joe, we're just the radio guys, and now you have 2 more favorites, man. Don't forget it. You're saying all the right things. You have been so very kind with your
Thank
time.
you so
Seriously,
much,
this is
yes.
a 40-minute interview. If we can ever do anything for you, please let us know. We only offer Wawa and chicken parm subs from a gas station, and in golf, if you need it, you can offer much more than we can. But Joe, seriously, congratulations to you on all your successes, and thank you so much for joining us on the Hot Stove Show.
Thank you again.
Yeah, of course. You guys have been great. Anytime you want to talk, just let me know.
Awesome. Take care, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That was Joe Migliaccio, the Miami Marlins director of hitting. Just an incredible conversation there, Stephen, and looking forward to certainly chatting a lot more with Joe, even if you think about spring training. I mean, really be an unbelievable time to chat with him. So amazing conversation there. And before we talk more about it, it's Black Friday. Are you a Black Friday guy, Steven?
Huge, massive, and Cyber Monday, but we're talking Black Friday. This is where I get all of my gifts for my family members, now my wife, and it is a big deal. Big deal.
And you can go to marlins.com/Black Friday. I swear to you, I did this earlier this afternoon. I went, you go ahead, Steven, go ahead. You can sip that. You pulled that down really quick. Like this is a professional thing.
Yeah, I know. Because people.
I went to marlins.com/Black Friday earlier. You can literally like pick these games you want to go to because I wanted to actually see how this whole thing works. It's very, very cool. Would you like me to tell you my near arrest story from Black Friday when I was younger?
Near arrest story?
Yes, sir.
I would love to hear
So
it.
me and my friends, me and my several of my best friends, we grew up in a little village in central New York.
Yep.
Um, and going to Best Buy on Black Friday was a huge thing when we were
Yes, it
younger.
was.
So
Yes.
we would camp out beginning on Wednesday at like no, I'm sorry, it was Thanksgiving Day,
So it's
obviously. We would go up
Thursday
to
night.
yeah, so we would go up to Best Buy at like 6 p.m. on Thursday night, and our families would bring us Thanksgiving dinner. We would have a big tent with a heater because it was obviously cold that time of year. But we were actually going to make money in case there was something we really wanted. Back in the day, at like 5 in the morning when Best Buy was getting ready to open, if you remember the flyers, the flat screen TVs were huge. So they would only have 12 to 15 of them in the store. So what they would do is it was first come, first serve. So we would intentionally try to be the first ones in line. So when the Best Buy employees came out and said, "Who wants a 60-inch Samsung?" we would raise our hands and we would be entitled to a literal piece of computer paper to where if you wanted it, you could just simply go buy it. You could
Sure.
redeem it. Well, what we would do is we would take these hot items and these pieces of paper, and we would literally sell these pieces of paper for cash to people in the back of the line that wanted the item. So
Oh my
somebody
god.
would say, "Here's $125." We would get into bidding wars with people. But where we nearly got locked up in the clink is one year we were literally doing it in the store, and the manager came over and said, "You cannot like be doing this in the store. You're trespassing, and if you don't leave, we're going to arrest you." So we like ran outside and
Wow,
we
look at
continued.
you, little devil making money. That's a
Yeah.
good investment business move by
Right.
you.
And so what we would ultimately do is because we were in first in line, like laptops were pretty big back then, we would sell enough of these pieces of paper and hold on to the thing we wanted. So we were basically getting our item for free. Like
Of
people, I'm
course,
serious, people
genius.
would give you tons of cash for a literal piece of paper, and we would walk out of there with $400 or $500 in our pocket, minus a couple hundred for the computer that was on sale for Black Friday, and that's how I made money on Black Friday. That's where my hustles began.
Well, you don't no one needs to do that for what the Marlins are offering, which is
No,
great.
sir.
No near arrest or anything like that. Black Friday sale and get everything you need Marlins,
Yep.
without the hassle of potentially getting kicked out by the manager, who's Clayton McCullough now, and,
Yeah.
possibly getting arrested.
Yeah, that's my story on Black Friday, but I don't do it anymore, obviously. It was unbelievable when I was like 16 years old, though. I missed, 3 or 4 or 5 Thanksgiving with the family because me and my buddies would be up there. We might sneak a few beers into the tent or whatever at that age, tip a
Whoa.
few back. That'll
Alright.
keep you going until the morning. But so yeah, go to marlins.com/Black Friday and get yourself a heck of a deal. Steven, we still have a lot more to the show. So before we
Okay.
progress, do you have any comments on the interview? Any way you'd like to tie that up?
Um, yeah, I mean, I expected just about that. A guy that is just to me, just intellectually, I can sit and listen to. I mean,
Yeah.
even just me asking, like, I'll give you a good example. W- w- How do you feel like the game of baseball? Like, where do you think it's at right now?
Mhm.
Just the way that his mind works, he goes right to the defensive shift. Like, those are the type of people that you can just sit and listen to for hours. For me and you, I know that we're like nerds of the game, so we can really get into the nitty gritty of like hitting. But I'm just always curious. It's one thing to know all these things, Kyle, because there's no question. I don't care what his age is. The guy is a genius from a baseball perspective.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't matter if you know everything you need to know about hitting. How are you then going to put it in a blender and then serve it to your players? Because every player learns things that are differently. Every player has certain preferences. You can know everything you need to know about baseball or hitting, but now how are you going to put it in a blender? Almost like how he's trying to break it down to us, and we're at
Yeah.
an intellectual level of much lower than any of these players. But I always think it's interesting to see how it's then spit out to these other players. We'll see how it goes. I think he's got a great personality. I think a lot of these guys that we speak to, Kyle, they're all very similar. Like you can put
Mhm.
all of them, forget baseball for a second, you can put them all at a table and they're all going to get along because they're very similar in personalities, the way they think, the way they listen, the way that they just sort of go about themselves.
We do have some coaching news to share, and some news I don't think people are quite yet privy to.
We
Let's take
breaking news? This is our first do we need a
Yeah,
newsbreaker thing?
exactly. So take a step back. You had Peter Bendix, and we've obviously chatted with Joe Migliaccio on the show tonight. Bill Hiesel. So Joe doing the director of hitting, Bill doing the director of pitching. We actually just mentioned the director of catching, Max Garrett. Manager Clayton McCullough, 44 years old. The newest news, but this is not what we have to share, and this came out yesterday prior to doing the show, and that was per Christina De Nicola of MLB.com, is that the Miami Marlins have hired Carson Vitale, a 36-year-old who's most recently been a field coordinator with the Seattle Mariners. And I wouldn't say he's a disciple of, but he has connections to Clayton McCullough and Gabe Kapler from their
Really?
Dodgers days. Um, the other one that we did discuss with Joe is Pedro Guerrero, 35 years old, coming from the Giants, has the tie-in to Gabe Kapler. And we do have news to share momentarily. But we can start with the Carson Vitale news, Stephen. Not sure how much you want to add to that, other than there's obviously you can start connecting some dots here. And for a lot of these people, the way that their paths have crossed with some of these other guys. And now he's coming from Seattle. I read the article. Seems like he's very well thought out of.
Yeah, and it's pretty insane to look at the age of the coaching staff, which is eventually going to be, I would say, completed over the next couple of weeks, man. It's got to be some sort of a record as far as just youngest coaching staff, and it feels very like this is like the Driveline Marlins because a lot of these guys have ties with Driveline,
Yeah.
and Peter Bendix is going all in on, their work, and it's got a great history, and it's really exciting to see sort of this new wave of younger coaches, sort of taking over, and this is very fun to sort of track and follow as
Mhm.
Clayton McCullough rounds out the coaching staff.
And he'll continue to do so. The news that we can share, and speaking of youth and speaking of Driveline, Daniel Moscos, a 38-year-old previously, with the Chicago Cubs, whether it's right now or in the next coming days, will be announced as the Miami Marlins pitching coach in 2025. And he's a Driveline guy, so is
Yep.
Bill Hiesel. I
Yep.
look though, I don't think Daniel overlapped with Bill. Daniel, I think, left in 2020. Bill came in I think it was 2021. But
Mhm.
obviously, I'm sure that there's a ton of familiarity there. But Max Garrett, the director of catching, is a Driveline guy. Bill Hiesel, a Driveline guy. And now we have learned that Daniel Moscos, who's coming over from the Cubs, who's been the assistant pitching coach on the big league staff and was this year to Craig Counsell. He's going to be the Miami Marlins pitching coach. And to expound upon a point that you made, Stephen, Clayton McCullough is like grandpa here. The bench
I
coach is
know. It's
36,
crazy.
the hitting coach is 35, the
Yep.
pitching coach is 38, the director of hitting is 33, the director of pitching is 38, and Max Garrett, I forgot to put his age, but he's extremely young as well. He's also in his 30s. It's unbelievable, dude.
And a lot of guys that, uh, didn't make it to the majors, right? And
Yeah.
not a problem because there's multiple managers, Terry Collins, Buck Showalter, Joe Madden. Those guys have been incredibly successful at the manager level. And of course, they weren't just managers, they were coaches as well, first base coach, bench coach, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see some of these guys that haven't particularly made it to the majors. Those a lot of times, Kyle, those are the best teachers. Like that's just the way it goes, right? LeBron James isn't going to be an NBA head coach. Why? Because it's LeBron
Right.
James and he is
Right.
a freak. You know what I'm saying? A lot of
Yeah.
the coaches and switching sports probably just should have stayed in baseball, but a lot of these guys that didn't necessarily make it, they just have a certain way of seeing the game from different ways and different levels. And I know one of the coaches was a catcher that you had mentioned, Vitale. So I feel like I'm sort of a broken record. It's really exciting. It's going to be a very young, energetic staff that I I think is incredibly intelligent and going
Yeah.
to bring in completely new ideas and core values that I really hope that the Marlins take on and it works.
Yeah, the youth movement is going to find a way to win on the margins. I really believe.
Correct.
I think that it's a younger day and age in baseball. Okay, before we really do get out of here, do we want to do a little bit of Thanksgiving talk? Are
Yeah,
we
we
done?
have to. We have
Oh,
to.
what are we doing? What are we thankful for? What do you want to see on the table? What are we doing here?
Would you rather cook Thanksgiving dinner or clean everything up?
I would rather clean everything up.
I agree. I agree
And I could
because
cook it, but if I have family members that are leaving stuff all over the place, I want to kill them. Let's all
most
just
o
be let's just be civilized for one day. Let's eat together. Let's have a nice day with the family. But if anybody starts leaving dishes and they start being irresponsible, I'm going to lose my mind.
paper plates. I'm a big
Oh,
paper
for sure,
plates
for
guy
sure.
during Thanksgiving. Limit the damage, and for me, like, part of the best thing about Thanksgiving is watching that 12:30 Lions game
Yes.
and respectfully watching everyone else cook, and it starts to smell good, and ovens are going off, buzzers are going off, and you're just kind of sitting there watching football. It's
Now,
that's
the other
part of
thing,
what's
my
great.
question for you, sorry, the other thing I'm thinking about, a lot of people do this. My family's never done it. Do you dress up on Thanksgiving?
I do. I do. You know me. I'm a fashionista. I
Yeah.
like to get ready. I actually just went to Forever 21 before
Oh,
I went to Jersey, and I got a really nice, I'll send you a picture,
okay.
selfie
Because
of
with all due respect, I'm getting in sweatshirt and a sweatpants, and I'm
I
letting it
get that.
be. Like,
I
I'm
get that.
going nuts. I wanna eat as much as I can.
I
I
get
want
that.
something that can expand a little bit,
I get that.
and I'm just ready to get after it. Like, don't put me in jeans. I'm gonna get suffocated. I'm trying to delete stuffing for 7 hours.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. You have joggers. You could wear joggers and you can put on that,
Those are still too
polo.
tight.
I don't
I
know,
need
man. It's
sweatpants.
just showing
I need
some
something that's
respect.
really you can just
Are
something
you
that
staying
can
home or are you going
breathe.
somewhere? You
I will
going to
be down
grandma?
here, and
Okay.
I will be going home on Friday. The Miami
Okay.
Hurricanes will vie for their spot in the ACC
Yes,
championship
Syracuse.
Saturday at
Yes, yes, yes,
Syracuse.
yes.
I will be up there with the family. I'm a loose cannon. I'm not a good person when the Hurricanes are playing and I'm in person. I really tend to
Uh,
lose my mind.
I
But
witnessed that this year. What's your favorite dessert? Do you like apple or pumpkin pie?
I can do either. I would love a piece of warm apple pie with a dollop of vanilla bean ice
Yeah.
cream on the side.
And you can eat vanilla bean just plain, which is a little psycho, but that's okay. We support you.
Yes. Yeah.
I love apple pie with a little. It's got to be warm with a little ice cream on top. It's perfect.
Yep. I'm a simple man. Are you ready to get out of here, dude? We're an hour plus in. I think that's
Yeah, we
good.
are an hour plus in, but I just want to share this with the audience real quick.
Sure.
This right here. Do you see where I'm sitting? Okay. Do you
Is
see where
that
I'm sitting?
prison?
This this is my basement as the light
Oh,
gets.
okay.
This is where it all started for me. This is really where it all started for me. I doing podcasts, no one listening now. So some
No.
things never change. But this is kind of like very like emotional for me right now. I'm
Oh,
back doing the hot stove show for the Miami Marlins, and this is where, I recorded podcasts talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, or trying to get a journalist from Cleveland to talk about the Cavaliers. I still have a lot of like good memories in here. My first microphone is in here somewhere.
mm,
Got some posters. It's
mhm.
it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
Oh, look at you go. There's a long way to go. A lot of growth and development lying ahead for young Steven, but
Amen to that, man. But I'm
he's
just relishing. I'm just really happy, man. I'm
that's good.
thankful for you. I love you,
Steven,
and
thank you.
sorry I had to drop one in there, but I'm very thankful for everything that we have and everything that we continue to do, and our listeners and everyone that watches this, man. We love
Yeah,
all of you guys. We really do appreciate it, because without you guys, I mean, this isn't possible. So, and the
yeah.
organization, just everyone, just super thankful, and um, I'm looking forward to next season, and continuing this hot stove show, because we got plenty more to go.
And the budget is increasing unbeknownst to many. Creative Services is helping us now. They got ourselves a
Oh,
new
shout out to them.
banner.
Yes.
Yes, thank you to
Yes.
Taylor Bowles, her entire team, Kara
Yes.
Schuler, Dan Leiferman, who we hope is going to be on the back end a little bit more to maybe make this a little bit more appeasable to watch. But we're on the right path. We appreciate everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We will be back next Thursday, same time, same place. We'll get back after it at 6 o'clock. So happy Thanksgiving, dude. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right.